Good morning. That was a nice intro, but funny thing is that in this, we didn't really talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is a new interest in amateur radio that I have been doing over the last, I would say, couple of years. And it's important to know that there is just not one way to do this hobby. There are several, I think I've lost count of the things I've done. So today we're going to talk about digital radios, we're going to talk about D-Star, DMR, and System Fusion from Yaesu. So these are emerging technologies that hams are using, and they also incorporate the internet to link radios as well. So I always like to start all my programs with code, and everybody knows that I am also a sworn enemy of convention, and she despises the conventional and anything even the earth. And this is Hedy Lamarr. Anybody who knows who Hedy Lamarr is?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so the first thing we say is that there's so many standards in digital radios, right? And people want to know which one is better, which one is right, you know, and why are there so many? Well, we're going to get into that. Is it confusing? Not really, but they're all more alike than you think. So pull up a chair and let's talk. Okay, so in the beginning they were analog only, right? We had FM radios. Everybody knows FM. You get a repeater, you could chunk, and you get on and you can talk with somebody miles away and you have a good time. Initially it was designed really to extend the range of mobile transceivers and cars, and then also later on they brought the auto patch where you could make a phone call. You could order pizza. I think the FCC finally gave up and said, okay, it's legal. Order pizza from HT. So this is a simple repeater. We have two stick men there communicating with a repeater on a mountaintop, or it could be anywhere. It could even be mobile in a vehicle, where you park it out for an emergency situation on a high location, and then you have people with handhelds walking around. And then later on, things began to get a little more complex. We had repeaters that linked together. So you have one repeater serving an area, and then you have another repeater serving another area, and they would link together through some back channel. Either RF, or a landline, or later on the internet. And we're going to explain that. But the thing about those is that those were very inflexible, meaning that the control operator, the person who owned the repeater or operated the repeater, was the one who decided who would get to connect to whom. And that worked for a lot of people, but you know, we could go further as time progressed along. Then later on came a development by a Canadian ham. His call sign escapes me right now, called YLRL. It's the Internet Repeater Linking Project. Does anybody know who did it? I can't remember. To be quite honest, I'm drawing a blank.
B7LTE.
Thank you. And this one allows more control by the end user. You could use the touch-tone keypads on your HT. You know, you look at this HT, it has like keypads on it. You can then enter a node number and you can connect. Now the way IRLP was set up was it was repeater to repeater only. You cannot do like a computer and then get on a repeater that way. But the nice thing about it is it allowed you to go beyond the single inflexible link that was with conventional repeater linking. And also, this might be a trivia question by the way, it ran Linux, the operating system. Anybody knows what Linux is? Right, so Linux is a Unix-based operating system. It's basically computer control software that was developed by somebody named Linus Torvalds from Finland, and it's very popular. It runs much of the internet today. It's very robust. Okay, now you have Echolink, and then you have, everybody here I'm sure knows Echolink because we have a very active YLNet. Anybody here gets on the YLNet? All right, yeah, so I have to give it a plug. We get on the YL op net on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern. So you can go repeater to repeater, right? You can go computer to repeater. You can even go computer to computer, right? And then you can also set up a simplex node where you just have a radio and you have people able to talk on that particular node. Those usually go with -L, okay? And then you have conference rooms. Like this is a conference room with people, right? Over there you have a conference room with radios, well, with radio users. They can either be on repeaters, they can either be on, they can either be individual users on computers, or they can be links. Okay, and there will be a quiz. So, we've covered the analog scape pretty quickly. Digital. So digital radios changed everything. But a lot of things remain familiar. You can go from radio to radio or a local repeater, but most people don't really do it that way. Right? When things change, people get a little scared, but we're here to guide you through. Okay, so are they really different? The different digital modes I'm talking about? Yes? No, not really. They aren't really all that different. They accomplish the same thing by different means, different protocols. So let's go through each one. So the granddaddy, the grandma of them all is D-Star, okay? And D-Star kind of started it all, but it's kind of like fallen by the wayside now, but it's still very much out there. So D-Star stands for Digital Smart Technology for Amateur Radio. It was originally developed in Japan by the Japan Amateur Radio League. It was not developed by ICOM, although they pretty much did much of the support for it. And ICOM actually makes the most D-Star equipment right now, but you also have Kenwood, you have Flex Radio, you have the homebrew hotspots, you have a number of different things being made for D-Star. And then it came to the US through ICOM, of course, who wanted to bring this to the US, and they basically marketed it as an emergency communications tool where you could do the repeater linking, and you had like microwave backlinks, and you had these repeater linking. Okay, so you can actually also do it on HF. There is an HF. Some of these radios are D-Star capable on HF, but we're not really talking about the HF side of things, because on HF, all D-Star really does, it does the digital modulation, the digital coding. On VHF and UHF, you can do a lot more like linking of repeaters and talk groups and stuff like that. Okay, so I didn't want to get too technical, but I had to mention it, basically. So I'm sure everybody knows about the concept of bandwidth, right? How wide a signal is. So there's been a push in commercial radio to get narrowband to cram more people in the same space. In amateur radio, we've kind of been experimenting with that. So D-Star has 6.25 kilohertz of occupied bandwidth. It's easier to program than DMR because DMR is really a commercial protocol. We'll touch on DMR later. It does data and voice, meaning that you can send files. A common application ICOM had with its D-Star radios is you can take a smartphone. Well, not this one, because this is an iPhone. But you can take an Android phone, and you can pair it with your radio, and you can send a picture to another user via Bluetooth. So you do Bluetooth to your radio. No, not Bluetooth. You could do with a cable, with a USB cable. You do a cable to your radio, and then radio to radio, and then it picks it up on the other end. And the nice thing about D-Star is you can just pick up the radio and talk. You don't need to say this is N2RJ, or this is K2EZ, this is KT4MD. It'll send your call sign in a digital format, so it complies with the FCC requirements to identify. Not all radio technologies do that, as we'll explain. So a common pain point, I had to mention it, is it's not compatible with the analog systems. Some people, they say, well, I'm not going to spend money on a D-Star radio right now, but I still want to talk to my friends. So it's not compatible. You can do one conversation per channel. And I'm kind of like leading up to where the other technologies supersede that. It uses a proprietary voice codec. So in simple terms, basically, when the voice is converted into digital data, it uses a proprietary scheme made by a company called DVSI. And there's been a lot of criticism that they're using this proprietary technology in amateur radio, which is an open service. So some people didn't like that. So I listed it as a disadvantage just to get it out there. D-Star equipment is not really that cheap compared to some others. I mean, you have this handheld costs around $600, whereas you can buy a D-Star, a DMR one for less than $100. And so some people think that it's out of reach, and that kind of hampered it a little bit. And of course, only Kenwood and ICOM are making handheld radios and mobile radios right now. And the linking systems have some, what you call fragmentation. I'm sure people in the IT space or technology space or anything know about the concept of fragmentation, where basically people say, we're going to do things one way, and then another set of people said, well, no, we're going to do it differently. And then even if we do it the same, we're not going to play nice with each other, and you kind of have to deal with that too. Anybody here who has kids knows playing nice with others is essential. So you can link together individual repeaters. You issue a command called repeater your call -L. Well, not -L, and then a link, and you do a U to unlink. You can do something called gateway routing, where you punch in the call sign and it'll find a route. And you can do something called D+, and D+ is something that I've been told is somewhat uniquely American, although it's probably not, but it's favored by American users because we like to get together in rooms. So this has like the talk groups, the reflectors, they call it. Of course, it does data, and since it does data, it can send pictures. And it can also do GPS. So anybody here use APRS, appers, right? And you typically use it, I know Andrea uses it because she goes on all these rows and she wants people to know where they are. This radio does APRS as well. This is the Kenwood THD74. But it also does the digital DPRS. So when you key up, it'll send your location via GPS to the network and it'll pick it up. So this is a Kenwood D-Star handheld. Personally, I think this is the best D-Star radio made right now because the ICOM ones are nice, but this has a whole cadre of features. It has the dual band analog, it has D-Star, it also has APRS, analog APRS. It's one of the only D-Star, I think it's the only D-Star radio with analog APRS on it, built in. So you carry this as a Swiss Army knife. Right? And ICOM makes their mobiles too. And of course, it has a detachable head, and you can mount that in your car. All right, so that's pretty much D-Star. So we're going on to DMR. Now, as far as programming the radios and such, we're going to cover that tomorrow in the Elmira session. I'm going to give you a hands-on demo on how to program these radios, how to get everything up and running, also how to use the hotspots. So DMR is really designed for commercial use. It's designed for police, fire, parks department, that kind of stuff, or business. But amateurs, we get into everything. So we borrow the protocol for amateur radio use. And it's an open standard, meaning that anybody can pretty much see it, right, and use it. Now, DMR comes in something called tiers. So you have tier 1, you have tier 2, and tier 3. The main difference is that tier 1 only allows one conversation per channel. Tier 2 allows 2, and tier 3 is what you call trunking. Trunking is typically what the police radios use, where they have a whole band of frequencies and they just dynamically assign channels to each other. Okay, and DMR, of course, means digital mobile radio. So the big advantage of DMR that people really like is that DMR has many different manufacturers. There's literally a plethora of them. They have the big ones, of course, Motorola being the big one. There's Hytera, there's Kenwood, but not Kenwood Amateur, you have Kenwood Commercial. You have the Chinese radio manufacturers who make radios dirt cheap. Like less than $100, over $100, whereas, you're not paying $600 for a handheld. So this, I believe, skyrocketed its popularity. And another big advantage is that you can do 2 conversations per channel, but it doesn't just divide the channel into 2. You have what you call TDMA, time division multiple access. Like in the old days, you had a cell phone. The first digital phones were TDMA, where they basically took turns at transmitting, but so quickly that they could decode and would sound like one conversation on each channel. And it's currently the fastest growing because of all of these. There's also a roaming mode. Like you travel around different areas. So I commute, I used to work in New York, and now I work in New Jersey, but even in northern New Jersey, you go from one area to another, you lose the repeater coverage. So with a Motorola radio, what you can do is you can program in like 3 or 4 repeaters, and then the radio will automatically say, we'll listen for all of them and pick whichever one's the strongest, and then go through that one. Unfortunately, that's proprietary Motorola, and that tends to get expensive, but it's possible. So again, it's not compatible with analog FM. It still uses that proprietary protocol. Since they're commercial radios, the FCC says that they cannot be front panel programmable, although some of them, you can hack them to do that. And if you're using Motorola radios, they require expensive software. Another big thing is that even though you have an ID being transmitted, you have to still ID via voice because it's not your call sign. And then there are still several systems that there's extreme fragmentation when it comes to linking. There are several systems that, for example, there's DMR Mark, there's Brandmeister, there's DMRX. They try to link some talk groups together, but if you're on one, you generally can't get on the other. So I explained about linking. So you rely extensively on this talk group concept, right? A conference room. And then not all talk groups are available on all repeaters. So DMR tends to be kind of like, if you're in a local area and you know you're going to be in a local area and you have these talk groups available, you can get on DMR and be happy with that. But if you're thinking that you're going to go from, let's say, New Jersey and then come down to Oklahoma and then get on the same talk group in New Jersey, you might be able to do that if the repeater owner has that talk group available. And then he might not. And then the other thing too is that if you're using several systems, there's one called DMR Mark, which is the DMR Motorola Amateur Radio Club, using Motorola amateur radio equipment. And they use something called a C-Bridge, which is made by Rayfield Communications. And that one basically links the Motorola talk groups. There's DMRX, and there's Brandmeister. Now the nice thing about Brandmeister is Brandmeister tends to be very open. Brandmeister is what I would like to call the anti-DMR. So Brandmeister has a number of talk groups that they're accessible pretty much on every repeater if the repeater owner chooses. I think it's by default. And they're also accessible from hotspots too. So that works out really well. So yeah, don't panic though. A lot of talk groups are linked between them. Somebody tell me where this reference comes from.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
There you go. You don't remember that? Okay. Yes? Douglas Adams, right? Anybody played the text adventure game?
Yes.
Yes? Good, Cheryl. And Andrea. Awesome. Yeah, so some of these talk groups are even linked to D-Star and Fusion. Now, a dirty little secret I'll tell you is that it's a lot easier to link DMR and System Fusion, which we're going to cover next, than it is to link DMR and D-Star, because the modulation is pretty much the same. So they might just use different numbers. So you have to do a little research ahead of time if you're going to program your radio. We'll cover all of the programming and technical stuff in the Elmira session. You'll get to sit and ask questions, and we're going to do a little project too, which I'll explain this now. So we have, just for ladies, we have the Talk Group 955, Worldwide YL, every Saturday morning at, I think it's what, 10 a.m. Central? Right, 10 a.m. Central. Michelle gets on there. We have Devorah 4x4 and Debbie from Israel. We have a few others. We have some of the Canadian YLs. We have Nisi. We have nice little group. So if you're on, if you have a DMR set up, you can get on.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was writing 1,500 Zulu, and then in the winter it changes to 1,600.
You know what? I might have gotten the times messed up. I'm sorry. Andrea did that to me. She got the contest.
Well, 10 a.m.
No, she got the contest mixed
It's
up.
always
Sorry.
10 a.m. Central.
That's the easiest way of figuring out for.
Andrea was kidding.
Okay, so it's always 10 a.m. Central.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Central. You know what? I kind of.
What I should.
It might be 1400. That might be an error.
No, I
1,500 is correct.
1,500 is correct.
Okay.
Year round.
Year round.
Year round? Oh, year round.
Yeah. 15 is correct.
Okay. All right, I'll fix that then. The thing is, I put Zulu time because it's I figure this might go out to international audiences. So I didn't want to. I want Jenny coming up and saying, well, you know, I don't know what time it is. I'm like, okay. We still love you, Jenny. Okay. The MD380 is a most popular DMR radio. It's basically single band, but it's very inexpensive. It's very feature packed and it's very rugged. You know, you can drop it down and nothing will happen, right? And Radioddity, who's a sponsor and who is giving away some radios, is going to be. They have this available as well. Now this is the one I use on my mobile computer. This is the Connect System CS800D. It's a dual band radio. It has dual amplifiers, meaning that it has one chip for each band. And you get 45 watts on UHF and 50 watts on VHF. You would not believe how much of a difference that makes. 45 watts on UHF compared to 25 is the difference between full quieting and dropping out. And I'll give you a demo of how it sounds. I don't know how it is. I'm sorry about the vertical video. But this was when I was driving. You know, I'm bad at no police in here. And some people say like the audio quality is not so good, but I don't think so. I think it's good. It's good enough. Let me turn up the volume.
Enjoying being away. It's great to be able to talk to the guys from up here. Where HF is basically propagation loss and kind of done. So the DMR alternative. I've been taking another 6 courses for a bomb out with the voice. W2 SJW K2 UL friendly group.
Scott, you have a nice day. Come with a sign as well. And you don't take any here. No. All right. Yeah, so that's enough incriminating information about me. And so I mentioned it's remote mount. So that was actually a control head which I mounted on the side of the driver's seat. So I have the microphone there. I just pick it up and I just dial on the side. I use a microphone to talk to and to also change the channels. And I mount it up in the back of my minivan, my awesome minivan, and then you know, you just power cable, and the separation cable is just an Ethernet Cat5 cable. That's it. You don't need an expensive proprietary cable like some radios require you to buy their $60, $70 separation kit. That's nonsense. You know, this one you just get a Cat5 and you plug it in, and you plug it in, and you're good. And so that's DMR. That was quite a lot. So System Fusion. I was going to have this presentation without System Fusion, and I met up Corey Sickles, WA3UVV, up at the Sussex Hamfest in New Jersey, and I asked him, I said, Corey, I have a presentation on digital modes for the YLs. I have nothing on Fusion. Can you help me out here? He said, sure. So he gave me some brochures, he gave me some hats too, which I'm going to give away. And he gave me an overview of some of the stuff. So System Fusion is the newest entry in digital radios. System Fusion is Yaesu's answer to the others. It's very easy to set up. It's an open protocol, meaning that they publish the specs, but so far it's only Yaesu making equipment. Am I good on time? Okay. And it uses a new modulation called C4FM. Now it uses a 12.5 kilohertz, but it has compatibility with analog FM. So that means that people using older radios can still talk to you. Right, so it uses something called, I believe AMS stands for Automotive Mode Select, Advanced Mode Select or something like that. It converts a digital signal to analog and allows people to talk on analog with you. It's very easy to set up. You just program in your call sign and registration, and it does the rest. Supposedly, Yaesu says that it has better recovery of a signal that drops out. So if you drop out and the radio has to sync back, and because you know it's not like FM where you just like you lose your signal and it just comes back in. This is digital. The repeater or the radio has to decode the signal, and then it has to synchronize back. And you know, so it's like, so one is the difference between basically falling off a bike and the other one's falling off a motorcycle. Okay, if you fall off a bike, you could just easily get back up. If you depends on how fast you're going. If you fall off a motorcycle, you go to the hospital. Now you have a group monitor, so if somebody's out of range, you can see who's out of range. And there are several other convenience features. The bad side, you're tied to Yaesu. For now, hopefully people catch on. And then because you're in analog, you have analog compatibility. You're not encouraging people who are on analog to switch to digital, which is probably your goal if you have a digital repeater. You know, analog is still nice. It's just that digital offers a lot that analog doesn't. The radios are less expensive than D-Star, but they're still more expensive than a typical DMR radio. But they're still pretty decently priced. And they don't allow two conversations in one channel like DMR, which I think is DMR's killer feature. So we have some examples of radios. This is a FDM 7250DR. You'll find like all the DMR, the Yaesu System Fusion radios have DR at the end of them, digital radio. So it's a dual band, a single VFO, it's a basic radio. Then you have this nice little one, Dawn WA4YL has this one. This one does HF, VHF, UHF, and it does Fusion, built in, out the box. So you buy an HF transceiver, you get a Fusion one for free, basically. That was a brilliant marketing move, by the way. I hope the others are listening. And then the FT70DR, basic HT with Fusion. So let's come down to this. Not everybody lives where repeaters nearby. I live up in the woods of northwest New Jersey. There are no repeaters near me. What do? No repeater? No problem. I use a hotspot. I currently use this open spot. You can see it here. It's basically a little box that plugs into your Ethernet router, plugs into power, and has a little antenna. Then you program that. It connects to the Brandmeister network. It can connect to other networks as well, with some regular and some custom framework. Some custom firmware, sorry. And then, yeah, it's basically like a mini access point. So this is the other thing you have to get accustomed to. Repeaters used to be, remember I explained their typical repeater topology. You had a repeater on a hill, people going up and, you know, connecting to that repeater and talking in that local area. Now you have to think of a repeater as an access point, basically, right? So the access point, you know, into the network. All you need is broadband. So you have 3 of them that are popular: the open spot, you have the Zoom spot, and the TV Mega, and all of them, the open spot and Zoom spot are based on something called MMTVM. I have an open spot if anybody wants to look at it. I also have a portable router. tomorrow in the Elmira session, I have a Zoom spot here that we're going to be putting together and trying out. All right? I bought that from HRO. I think it was like all over $100. They have it on sale right now. Now, the nice thing is some little extras. You can actually see who's on. You can see who's connected where. We in New Jersey, we have a DMR group called NJ Turbo, which is affiliated with DMR Mark. And you can see who's on. You can see how strong they are. You can see where they're getting in from. NetWatch. Brandmeister has last heard, where you can see people where they're last connected to. All right? Okay, we're going to do a quiz. So, I'm going to, I have several radios to give away. I also have some other stuff. So I have some hats from Yasu here too. I'm going to give away these in trivia. And we also have 2 radios from... I'll also have 4 radios from Radioddity to give away. Oh, you want one? All right, so I have here, right, good. 4 radios and several hats. Okay, so there's a good chance you can win a prize. So first of all, let's talk about D-Star. What does D-Star stand for?
Digital Smart Technology for Amateur Radio.
Good one, you got it. You can come and collect your prize. We're good. We're putting the OMs to work today. Yay. All right. Okay, another question. What is the name of Yasu's digital system?
System Fusion.
Okay, I think you went first. What's your call? Okay. Cool. All right. So within the Yasu system, they use something called, what type of what's the name of the modulation?
3/4 FM.
You heard it first. Okay, yeah, you can have it. It's good. Okay. So the other one is, what does DMR stand for?
Digital mobile radio.
Digital mobile radio.
All right, I think she wants to win first. Yeah. Yeah, you can pass it. Okay. So this one is a 2-part thing. I want to name 2 linking systems in DMR. And the first one would be? Brandmeister. Right? And the other one that uses Motorola would be?
Motorola DMR Mark 0.
Very good. Okay. All right. Let's see what else. No, I'm going to save that question for last. Let's name one of the hotspots that I pictured here, which is a
Zoom Spot.
Zoom spot. Gotcha. And who said open spot? Okay. One each?
One each.
All right. Now, one of the things you need for an open spot, all you need to connect an open spot, I'll give you a hint. It has to be the internet. What do you need to connect it to? Your router. Who said router? Okay, there you go. Congratulations. All right, and okay, and name 2 manufacturers of D-Star equipment.
ICOM and
All right, so she said ICOM, and who said Kenwood? Okay. All right, good.
Where's Kenwood?
Yeah. Okay. How many we got left? Okay.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow. Perfect. Yeah, Corey just gave me an unspecified number and he said give them out as you see fit. Okay. I decided I'll give there will be a quiz. Right. So, which radio manufacturer, it's get harder now. Which radio manufacturer makes the radios that roam? Motorola. Who said Motorola? Oh, yes, you won already. Okay. Well, okay. Okay. Could you name another manufacturer of DMR equipment?
TYT.
Anybody that makes DMR equipment? Hytera? Who said Hytera? Okay. Good. Yes. Right? And
Yeah.
okay. Another manufacturer that makes DMR equipment.
TYT.
TYT. Good. And let's name another one. Who said radiology? All right, Michelle. Come on. I was thinking it would be fairly obvious. Okay. All right. So, what is the most popular DMR radio among radio amateurs in the world?
MD80.
Who said MD380? Well, she won already. Anybody didn't get a hat? Yeah. Okay. Huh? Yeah. You know what? Okay. So I guess now it's time to start giving away radios. All right. So the first one I'm going to give away would be a Radio Oddity GD77. Right? This is this radio over here. Right? This one does DMR, does analog, it's handheld. Not this one. Yeah. And it's courtesy of our kind sponsors at Radio Odyssey. Right? And, okay. Now, I mentioned there was a YLRL talk group. I don't want the name, I want the number.
955.
So Cheryl had her hand up first. Cheryl, top of the class to you. Fear not. We have more radios. Okay.
Cheryl, what's your call sign?
All right.
Same here.
Okay. This one is a GD77S. Now this one is the same as a GD77, except it doesn't have a display. But that's not a problem. I can show you how to program these in the Elmira session. And they're the same function. So the YL group, what is the name?
WWYL.
All right, Leo. All right. So we're getting down here. This one is a Bofang RD5R. It's functionally equivalent to the Radio Oddity GD77. It's basically a GD77 in a different case. So it'll work the same. I'll show you how to program that too. All right. And let's see here, because I'm running out of quiz material. Okay. No, I'm not going to use those quiz questions. Oh yeah, here's a good one. Yesu makes... No. Yesu makes a radio that is HF, VHF. Who said it? All right, there you go. Full sign?
November 8, Fox Echo.
All right, Marcia. Very nice to see you here. Now this one is a VHF, this one's a UHF radio. It's not DMR, but you can still use it to get on the local repeaters. It's UHF 400, 470 megahertz. It's a GA2S, right? And this one will be pretty easy as far as, yeah, okay. So there are two questions presented to one of the characters in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? One of them was to drink beer, and the other one was to do what?
No idea.
All right, that was too hard.
No, I didn't do the first part.
Okay. Okay, no, she can have it.
What was the answer? Peanuts. No?
No? All right, you know what, she'll have it anyway. I don't know. No, all right. Let's do this again, because that was the question. Okay. Oh yeah, can somebody tell me the bandwidth of D-Star?
6.25.
6.25, okay. All right, so that does it for us, but wait, there's more. Yeah, it's like Billy Mays. Wait, there's more. All right, let's see here. I got one more. So if you didn't win a radio, no problem. Radioddity has been, they've been pretty gracious in sponsoring us. If you want to purchase one of these radios, they will give you a 10% off discount if you purchase it this weekend, and you enter the promo code YLRL hands, right? Anybody forgets, just ask me, and you get 10% off. They occasionally have flash sales where you can get them for like 60 bucks, you know, so they're pretty good. And for the online people, I'm gonna have some giveaway of some promo codes where they can get up to 50% off. And I'm gonna do trivia for that too. All right, okay. And be sure to join me for the Elmira session where we'll be assembling the Zoom spot. I'll be showing how to program your radios, D-Star, DMR. Now, the other thing about this radio that I forgot to mention was one neat feature D-Star has, on this radio at least, is you can go to, if you put in D-Star mode, and you select one of those key combinations, I think, right? You press the down button, I don't know if you can see it, and you have a feature that says nearby repeaters. It'll look up the nearby repeaters based on GPS. Of course, it means you must have a valid GPS fix. But unfortunately, because D-Star has kind of like withered on the vine a little bit, a lot of the repeaters shut down, they've not been maintained, so it's kind of not that useful. But anyway, so yeah, so that's it. And we're gonna have stuff in the Facebook group. Anybody can still participate. Carol? Anybody has any questions?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Carol.
I've never really done any operating on VHF digital. However, I have dabbled a little bit on VHF digital using the free DV
Yes.
protocol, which is promoted by Ms. Parents very much K6BP.
Yeah, numbers.
And he says one of the advantages of free DV is it's completely open source.
Right.
You don't need to use anything that's proprietary. Also, it has superior performance at low signal-to-noise ratio because it avoids very much the digital clip that you have with
Right.
regular remotes. And he's working also on applying this more to the UHF scene through this Algoram product that he's been working on. Where do you see that this fits in the total all-around picture of digital voice?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I mentioned earlier that Flex Radio does D-Star. Now they also do free DV. The difference between free DV and D-Star. So she was asking basically about the mode called free DV. So free DV is a free digital voice mode. You'll find it on HF right now. It uses software called Codec 2, right? A proprietary, well not proprietary, open source codec developed by Rotel. I believe is the name of the entity that's, I forgot the guy's call sign. Who is it?
It's a Perseverance K6B.
So Bruce developed
Yes. Well, the original was Dave Grow.
Right.
Dave 5 PGR.
it. That's what I was thinking of. I didn't know that Bruce took it over. But if he did, that's good because he's good. So this is a completely free digital voice protocol. You can do digital voice on HF. It occupies less bandwidth. The audio quality is probably not as good as SSB, but that's kind of like the compromise you have. As Carol mentioned, you don't encounter the digital cliff where beyond a certain point it just drops off. You'll have a degradation in quality until the bitter end. Now, what Carol was asking me is where does this fit in? So radio manufacturers are right now, Flex Radio does something called waveforms. Now the waveforms are basically plugins that you get a piece of software, you install it, and it will install a new mode on a radio. With FreeDV, you can just install the software and it will work. With D-Star, you have to buy a dongle that has that proprietary chip. And that's a major disadvantage. With protocols like FreeDV, you can actually just download software for free and you don't owe any licensing, any royalties or anything. So I think that's perfect for amateur radio. I think if it's adopted into VHF, it'll be good too. The only thing is I see a lot of people have a lot invested in these other modes already. I don't think they're going to change unless there's a manufacturer that comes out with a radio that is able to be software updated. But with proprietary chips, it's not probably going to happen. Okay? Any other questions? Yes. Yes, so if you have an open spot or another type of hotspot, you can actually set it up where you can go from a fusion radio into DMR, and I think you can go DMR to fusion C4 FM using the open spot. But you do your channel selection in the open spot itself, the group selection, and since it uses similar voice codec, it would just be able to cross over. Anybody else?
Yeah, I also wanted to mention, some of us that have Yaesu analog FM radios that a lot of them have the wires protocol in there. And you know anything about wires?
I don't really. I was concentrating more on digital.
Well, wires actually allows, I think it's more implemented in Japan.
Right.
There are applications there where you can use an analog radio, activate the wires, and then the wires has an interface with the internet that allows you to tunnel into the internet and then come out and talk with digital with other stations that are using the C4 FM mode.
Okay.
So but it's really not implemented here in the United States.
Okay. There was somebody over there. Yes.
Just wondering, is the MD380 a good one for a starter radio if you're just getting into this?
So the MD380 is single band. It works for if you're using a hotspot or if you're in an area that only has one band of repeaters. The thing is, most DMR repeaters are on UHF and ham radio, but there are some areas where the military radar called, they used to call it pave pause, but I think it's called something else now, actually precludes the use of UHF digital. So areas like, for example, close to Cape Cod, Massachusetts would have their repeaters on VHF. And that's where you would, but you can get the MD380 in VHF or UHF, but you just limit it to one band. This you have dual band. You can go, and you can even use it on your local FM repeaters too. Anybody else?
Which
Yes?
one was the dual band?
Oh, actually, you know what, let me let the YL go first, sorry. Marsha?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a Yaesu, what is it, FTM 100 DR, and that is a really nice beginning fusion radio. The interesting thing is that our repeater, what I found was that you have to understand the way that the fusion works is that you can, the repeater system, having that be digital, even though it's a digital, you may not really have that many people talking digital. And you might want to explain that as far as like that you'd have to really get with your friends to determine about the digital,
Yeah.
that they have it both ways, analog and digital.
Yeah, so Marcia's asking about the digital analog crossover in Yesu, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what you're asking. Yeah, so it is possible. I don't have too much, I'm sketching the details. Like I said, Fusion was a last minute added. I could find out from Corey or somebody else
Well,
more
no,
details.
I can explain a little bit. What happens
Yeah.
is the repeater systems, usually what they'll do is to make everybody happy, what they're going to do is they're going to make it so that whatever comes in, an analog or a digital signal, that's what they have.
Right.
So I come in digital, then it's going to stay digital till the next person comes in, and that might be analog. And so if what happens is that if you want to have a digital conversation, you might want to let all your buddies know that that's, okay, we're all going to be digital, and you call in. But what happens is that the repeater may sound like there's nobody on there, because with a digital signal, analog can't hear you. They're going to hear noise. So if you want to do the digital, it works really well. Just let get all your friends together and work it out.
All right, there was one question from Orlando.
No, I just want to make a comment. Thank you so much for bringing all the prizes. I thought that was extremely generous.
Oh, well, we couldn't do it without our sponsors, and, they've been very gracious, and I think that Michelle has been doing a great job of getting them to give us stuff, and, treating us well. So anyway, unfortunately, I'm out of time. We can ask tons of questions in the Elmira session tomorrow. We do our practical projects. We can even meet face to wall and, ask questions. I do want to make way for Andrea, who's going to be an awesome speech about brokering. 33, 73, 88 for the OMs.